Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. A bill is pending before the House of Representatives seeking to suspend and revise taxes for tobacco and vape products. House Bill 11279 seeks to resolve illicit sale and the proliferation of counterfeit products by suspending excise taxes. According to the bill, these illegal activities take away revenue from government, including funds for health programs. But health advocates say the bill is only meant to increase profits of tobacco traders. They warn it will bring down prices of vape and tobacco products, raise the number of smokers, and put the public's health in serious danger. Let's get on point with Dr. Antonio Danz, convener of the Sin Tax Coalition. Dr. Danz, it's good to see you finally in person. Welcome to the Billionaire News Channel.
Good evening to your viewers, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. So it's the Sin Tax Law wherein part of it is that tobacco products and other, I think even vape products are taxed, this is correct, 5% every year.
Yes. The tax is increased by 5% every year.
You're right. Let me correct that. There is an addition of 5% every year. So every year, pataas siya ng 5%, sa susunod taon, 5% ulit. Is there a problem with that, the present setup of the sin tax?
Well, no. The reason there's a 5% increase is because of inflation. If the price of tobacco doesn't increase, and the economy is developing and purchasing power increases, if we keep the tax constant and the price of tobacco constant, the ability of people to buy it increases.
Right.
So it will dilute the tax.
The wisdom of the sin tax law.
Right.
Which is what? The wisdom really is to prevent, to make it more expensive for consumers to drink alcohol, hindi ho ba? Smoke cigarettes, etc.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So we wanted, is there a problem, was your question, di ba?
Is there a problem with the present sin tax law?
Well, we wanted 9% per year because the 5% adjustment is just an adjustment for inflation. But really, we need to adjust it for purchasing power of Filipinos.
But you didn't get that.
We didn't get the 9%. We were happy with 5% at that time.
And now there is a threat to actually even suspend this 5% and actually increase it to 6%. However, there's a caveat, only doing this every other year. So
That's
clearly, if you say, tataasan naman natin ng 6%, kala mo maganda. However, if it's every 2 years, you lose out on the additional 5% per year. What we're talking about is House Bill 11279. Okay. And obviously you are opposed to this.
Yes, we're opposed to it. We're shocked that that our legislators are even thinking about it and outraged by this proposal because tobacco tax is not a revenue provision. It's a health provision. It's a health law. Its goal is to reduce the number of smokers and reduce the burden from smoking. No? Lugi tayo kasi dyan, Pinky. From tobacco-related illnesses, if you compute how much we are losing as a country every year, from lung cancer, chronic lung disease, stroke, heart attack, and other cancers.
TB, pwede rin dyan, di ba? TB. Pwede ba ang TB dyan?
Yes, tuberculosis, pneumonia, 20 different cancers. If you account for that using the global burden of disease data, nawawala tayo ng mga 750 billion a year from 47 life-threatening diseases caused by tobacco. How much do we earn? We only earn 100 in 2023. We only earned 135 billion from tobacco. So lugi tayo.
I think it's good to underscore what you were saying, why there is this sin tax law. Because basically it's really discouraging people from smoking and drinking, which are supposedly health risks, hindi ho ba?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's really government also doling out and paying for diseases or illnesses that we get because of these, lifestyles that we have, or drinking and smoking to be...
Yes, so in essence, the tobacco industry is paying for diseases that it is actually the cause of.
a source
Right.
of.
Yes.
The
So,
source of illness.
kulang yun. Right. So pag sinasabi ng ating congressman, we should have a balance between revenue and health, that's a lot of nonsense. There is no balance. This is their just payment for the diseases that tobacco causes.
Is it even commensurate?
It's very far, 750 billion
Right.
lost a year compared to 135 in tobacco tax revenues a year.
It was this in 2023. I think 135 was in 2023.
Yes,
no? So
that's
ang
right.
kinita ng gobyerno o nakuha ng gobyerno rather through these cigarettes, vapes, etc. was 135 billion pesos
Yes.
in 2023. Here's the thing though. They're using this 135 billion pesos as a justification, di ba? Na kaya ang baba or bumababa ang na-generate na revenue through tobacco excise taxes because of this counterfeit, illicit trade
Illicit
that is
trade.
happening. Okay, so let's talk about
Yes.
that. Kasi pag sinabing illicit trade, ano ho ba ito?
Well, so illicit trade could be smuggling.
Yun po yung
from-
kasing mas madaling explanation doon.
Yes, but it could also be the legitimate manufacturers not declaring
Not paying the proper taxes.
or
Yeah.
not paying the proper taxes like Mighty did before the pandemic, right?
Yeah, during the time of former President Rodrigo Duterte, they had to pay
30 billion ba in fines for not declaring all the cigarettes that they manufactured.
So basically, they're saying that to be able to, bridge the gap between the legitimate and the illicit trade or the smuggled ones, this House bill basically is saying that let's lower or actually stop di ba?
Yes,
Stop
stop.
the
Yep.
payment of taxes. Ito yung gusto niya. Wag muna sila magbayad ng tax sa 2026.
Yes.
But in 2027, pay 6%.
Yes.
Which is addition 1% from the sin tax law,
Right.
5%.
Right.
However, in 2027, zero tax.
Again.
Tapos sa 2028, 6% ulit.
Yeah, so every other year yung zero.
Right. And
Yes.
every other year then yung 6%. Does
Yes.
that make sense to you?
It makes no sense at all. Kasi sinasabi nila, if we lower the price of tobacco locally, the legitimate tobacco, we will discourage smuggling. Ang layo-layo ng price ng smuggled illicit cigarettes from the legal cigarettes. As much as 150 pesos per pack ang legitimate pack.
Yun ang mabibili mo ngayon sa convenience stores, 150
Yes.
pesos. Okay.
Compared to 40 pesos pag smuggled. So, ang laki-laki. So, even if you lower it and cancel the 5% increment every year, that's
Malaki pa
not
rin yung
enough.
disparity.
Oh, hindi hihinto ang smuggling. If you want to stop smuggling, you control the border and monitor and track and become stricter with monitoring of the illicit trade.
But even if you were saying that this is a health issue, obviously very important also is the money that is generated or the revenue collected from the sin tax law. I mean, that's
Yes,
the reason
yes.
why part of the sin tax law is supposed to go to PhilHealth, which I'll discuss a little later on, na hindi mapupunta sa PhilHealth, di ba? Because of the recent decision by the president. However,
Yes.
so there's one important thing though that needs to be talked about here. If does there in any way, form that you see that this could be beneficial, kahit na po siguro katiting na tulong sa gobyerno tong House Bill 11279?
Alam mo, we use complex economic models to estimate revenue. When you adjust tax for any item, you estimate pag binaba mo ba yung tax, ano yung effect on the final revenue. That's affected by yung elasticity. Ibig sabihin, for every 10% drop in price, how many percent drop in utilization of tobacco will you see? Hindi siya 1:1 eh. Inelastic ang tobacco because it contains nicotine, which is addicting. Even if you increase the price, people will not respond. They will continue smoking kasi they're addicted to it. So it's inelastic. So you consider elasticity, inflation, population growth, development to estimate revenue. And in our estimate, the government will lose a lot, around 30 billion
with this House bill.
With this House bill. But there will be one beneficiary.
The
tobacco industry.
Okay. You know, I had to ask you that because while it seems on the surface that if you tax them 5%, an additional 5% every year, yung pong tobacco, vis-a-vis, do not charge them in 2026, but charge them in 2027 at 6%, 28 yes. No charge, 2029, 6%. While it looks like talo ka dun sa House bill, baka naman there is some calculation here that I wanted to make sure you looked into, na at the end of the day, talagang we will not profit from this House bill.
Yeah, so we estimate for sure, in the next 5 years, the government will lose up to 30 billion in revenue. We've asked DOF, ano ba yung estimates ninyo? Ano bang models ginamit nyo? They cannot show us anything. We've asked the legislators proposing the bill, what were your models that led you to conclude that lowering the tax will increase revenue?
Was there any answer?
There was no answer. They don't have any of the calculations. So this is really, the only thing you can show is that industry will earn. Their revenue will increase by 27 billion in the next 5 years.
Okay, so it doesn't seem like it's backed up by any study.
Not at all. And there is no study that a rollback in tax in any country will lead to an increase in revenue. Walang ganun.
Yeah.
A rollback of tax will always lead to more smokers and less revenue for government.
Actually, that's a point that needs to be raised. Is it possible that if you actually lower the taxes, that it could curb smuggling? It could curb the illicit trade. I
think it's almost impossible here. Let's give it a 0.01% chance of happening. It's very, very improbable. Kasi nga, ang laki-laki ng price difference. The only way we can curb smuggling is by controlling our borders and being stricter at customs.
We'll have more of our discussion with Dr. Tony Dance. After the break, please stay tuned. This is On Point.
Get to the latest stories.
The UP Fighting Maroons stormed back to seize the UAP men's basketball title.
The updates.
The best Philippine team that we have sent on an international stage.
The scores and what to celebrate in the world of sports. Hosted by Anton Rojas.
On the scorecard, where sports is our business and business is our sport.
Only here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
What's driving growth? Let's talk to the experts. A global group is teaming up with the Philippines to boost infrastructure investments, break down the numbers, and uncover the stories that matter. Now, the country's unemployment rate drops to 3.9% in October. From local developments to global trends and everything in between, Google launches a powerful new chip that can make computers work much faster. Connect the dots to give you the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. I'm Mike Yoreta. Join me on Business 360.
Welcome back. You're watching On Point, still with us, Syntax Coalition convener Dr. Tony Dance. Let's bring in this report that came out today. It's the DOST Food and Nutrition Institute, where it actually says that between 2021 to 2023, there were 9.5 million new smokers. Lagay na natin sa 10 million new smokers. This could be used, Dr. Dance, as a reason, possibly, to say that the present tax being imposed on tobacco products is not a deterrent. How would you respond to that?
Well, yes. Actually, it's around 5 million new smokers,
Okay.
Not 10. So, bakit dumami? Yun yung tanong, no? Actually, we predicted this in 2018 na yung 5% annual increase in tax will wear off by 2023. And we're going to see a rise in the number of smokers.
Why?
Kasi kulang nga yung 5% eh. It should be 9%. So, what we should do now, since dumadami yung smokers, is not reduce the tax. We should increase the tax. No?
Opposite, actually.
Yes. Ewan ko, we are an economy now controlled by the North. No? And legislators and executives from the North. So I doubt they will have the health of the majority of Filipinos in mind.
But how would you describe this bill? What is it?
This bill, it's been described in so many different ways. It's a tragedy. It's sabotage. It's an insult. I think the best way to describe it is it's a curse on the health of Filipino people. Kasi pag sinunod nila yung bill na yan, in our estimates using the same economic models, there will be 400,000 new smokers in the next 5 years. Half of them.
How do you come up with that study?
It's called the Walbeck model. It's the tobacco excise tax simulation model. It's been time-tested for the past 20 years in so many different countries. We can predict almost exactly how much you'll
There's such
earn.
a thing, huh? Okay.
Yes, how much you'll earn from excise tax and by how much you will affect the number of smokers. It considers not just what our legislators considered, which is ilang percent ba yung tax. It considers inflation, elasticity, development, population growth, industry behavior, and many other things. So it's almost a science. Alam mo, yung increase nga in 2023, we predicted that. The drop in smokers from 2012 to 2021, we predicted that. Almost accurate up to a decimal place. So this is all science. There's no
Dr.
guesswork.
Dance, wouldn't it be possible that the increase is due to the new types of devices that can be used for smoking? Because if you're saying that, basically, how I'm understanding it is, since the imposition of the sin tax, bumaba po yung number of smokers, right?
Up to 2019. And
Okay,
then
hanggang 2019.
2023, tumaas na naman siya.
Yeah, 2021 to 2023, tumaas na
2021,
naman. No?
sorry,
So let's just say for 8, 9, 10 years, bumaba po yung number of
Yes.
smokers. And then in the recent past,
Tumaas.
2 to 3 years ago,
Yeah.
bigla pong tumaas. Could it be the the emergence of these new types of devices?
Yes, yes. So you're exactly right. One of them is yung inability to adjust enough, no? Kulang yung 5%. But the other is the emergence of vape. Kasi many people are, kasama sa smoking prevalence natin yung 23%, yung vape. No? So they add directly to the number of people who smoke. Okay.
Well,
But-
absolutely, because
Yes, but also when you vape, when non-smokers vape, they are 4 times more likely to smoke in the future. So, we predicted
so are you
when
saying,
they passed...
sorry to cut you, so from vaping, you will eventually smoke cigarettes? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
especially if you were a non-smoker to begin
Really?
with. We warned Congress about that when they passed this other crazy bill, yung vape liberalization law nila. We warned them, you're going to see an increase in the next 2 years. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Is the tax on not the traditional cigarettes, but vape and e-cigarettes, are they taxed accurately or rightly?
Commensurate.
Correct?
Hindi eh. We're still trying to perfect the estimates here.
Kasi parang it's on milliliter, paano ba
Yeah,
yun? Or-
yes, kasi ang manufactured cigarette, sticks and packs ang
Oh,
pinag-usapan
let's say
mo.
a pack. Kunwari po, a pack.
Yeah.
Back in 2023, a pack was taxed 60 pesos, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oo.
And then how do you compare that now
Yeah.
let's say, a vape, which you use, I guess, liquid, di ba?
Well, so actually, Congresswoman Stella Kimbo made estimates on what the equivalent tax might be for vape, and she's proposing standardization. Isa na lang yung tax rate. Kaya lang, we still need to calculate paano yung conversion. How do you convert yung milliliters of liquid with the sticks?
Right. Yeah, I guess it will have to go down to the puffs.
Yes.
How many
Yes.
puffs you do in a cigarette versus how many puffs you do in a vape. Kunwari, if you puff 20 times in one stick,
Right.
It has to be parang equals to how
Right.
many puffs you
Right.
do
Right.
sa vape
So,
para po pantay yung...
We haven't perfected that. We just know that it's actually lower for
Okay.
vape. And that's maybe why dumami ang vapers, nadagdag sa smokers. That's the other reason bakit bumaba ang revenue.
At saka madaming bata.
Ay, yes, the increase in the number of vapers below 19 years old is from 0.2 to 2%.
Wow.
That's a tenfold increase in the number of vapers. Ang tina-target ng vape industry is the young. Yes.
Obviously, because it has certain flavors
Yes.
that appeal
Yes.
possibly to those who don't like tobacco.
Yes.
Di ba?
Yes.
All right. Does it look like this will make it in Congress?
Well, alam mo, there are rumors from reliable sources that this is a done deal all the way to the office of the president. So papasa sa Congress, papasa sa Senate, papasa at pipirmahan ng Pangulo. But we're hoping that's not true. So, but we're vigilant and alert, and we're attending all the Congress and Senate hearings to make sure that we're noisy and that we oppose this bill.
Who is the author in the Senate?
Well, I'm not sure about the Senate. Pinky, sa House bill, it's Congresswoman Singson. Mihan.
Yeah. That's why I'm wondering. I did not see a counterpart in the Senate here.
Well, kasi actually, since revenue bill siya, it has to be
Emanate from ano?
in Congress. And then, tsaka magkakaroon ng authors sa Senate. So, ang nangyari pa lang sa Senate is committee hearings.
What about the Department of Finance? Because I did read some articles. Secretary Recto was saying that he's open to talking to members of Congress and even stakeholders regarding this. Because if you're saying that bababa ang revenue ng gobyerno with this House bill, I can't imagine why the Finance Department would even support this.
Right. So he's sitting on the fence saying he will listen to everyone. Secretary of Finance siya eh. Di ba? Kinuha na nga nila yung yung Universal Healthcare Reserve Funds, yung PhilHealth. Kinuha na nila yon kasi they didn't want to raise taxes. Tapos ngayon, they will lower tax on tobacco. That doesn't make sense at all. No. He's the Secretary of Finance. He should not be looking at any measures
to lower
that
taxes
will reduce government revenue.
Again, did you say how much can be wasted, for example, if this bill becomes law?
The losses, almost 30 billion
30 B.
in the next 5 years.
And how would that possibly, if passed, how would this possibly affect revenue that should go to, for example, PhilHealth? Because under the sin tax law, a certain percentage of sin tax revenue should go to PhilHealth.
40%.
40%.
Of the 30 billion would be 12 billion. And can you imagine how many people we can help with 12 billion?
That's why I don't understand how government could possibly support this.
Exactly, yes.
That's why, again, I'll circle back to my earlier question to you. Is there something that you probably didn't see in terms of revenue collection with regards to this House bill? Baka ho kasi, meron silang nakita na mas tataas pa ang revenue kesa doon sa present sin tax law. But then you were saying that no.
They cannot show any calculation showing that. The only clear thing is that tobacco and their allies in Congress will be earning more from this bill.
And then, of course, that will be detrimental to the health
Yes.
of the smokers.
campaign period kasi, Pinky, so ang daming magic na nangyayari. So, I don't know. I don't want to be, have a malicious mind. Kaya lang, bakit ba yung mga ganitong phenomenon laging nangyayari kung campaign period?
Do you have plans? Are there plans that if you're saying that meron pong chismis na it's a done deal, what else can your group do to stop this?
Well, right now, we're making a lot of noise and making sure the public knows. Kasi, ano ba tingin nila, bingi at tanga ang Pilipino? Every Filipino should know na pinagsasamantalahan na yung syntax law at they're sacrificing our health and our revenue for healthcare to favor a certain industry. People should know that, no? So we're very grateful that you invited us this evening to be able to say this out to the people.
Again, let's go back to the problem because marami pong pumapasok supposedly sa illicit trade, smuggling ng mga sigarilyo na hindi natatax, and that's lost revenue, sir. Dr. Dance. So here's my question. If that is true, why not just crack down on the illicit trade?
Yes, that's what they should do. So the bill sa Congress on illicit trade focuses on that, how to crack down, mga track and trace program, digital monitoring, to help them track and trace illicit trade. So that's how we should do it. Not lowering the tax is not the solution to smuggling.
Because it can seem like you're raising the white flag and saying, okay, give up ako. Ang grabe yung smuggling, grabe yung illicit trade. So ito na lang ang gawin natin.
They're giving up on the ability of our customs and our BIR.
We should take them to task, right?
Yes. Instead of sacrificing the health of the Filipino people. Alam ba, I have to say this. Every 6 minutes, one Filipino dies because of tobacco.
Is that so?
And they're going to increase that by lowering the tax and increasing the number of smokers.
And say that again. Every 6 minutes, one Filipino dies due to tobacco-related
diseases.
diseases.
And how long have we been talking, right?
Yeah.
If we talk for 30 minutes, 5 Filipinos have died in the short time that we talk because of tobacco.
A final appeal, Dr. Dance.
Yes, well, our appeal it goes to many people, all the way from Congress. Tama ning kalukuhan na po yan. Kalukuhan na po itong ginagawa natin eh. It goes to the Senate, who's about to receive whatever the Congress passes. It goes to our President and the Secretary of Finance. Tandaan natin, tobacco tax is a health bill. It's not a revenue bill. To hell with revenue. Even if it is zero because everyone stopped smoking, that's still a good thing. Kasi lugi tayo eh. When it becomes zero, that means we're saving 750 billion a year
in
from tobacco-related
expenses.
diseases, expenses, and lost income. Ba? So hindi bali na yung 135 billion a year na nawala natin, no? Even if it becomes zero. So our appeal all the way from Congress to Senate to the Executive Department to our President. Let's stop this nonsense because it's really a lot of nonsense. Let's not sacrifice the health of the Filipino people for a few bucks.
Maraming salamat to you, Dr. Dance.
Thank
And
you very
again,
much.
Thanks for
Thank you.
coming over. And that's On Point. Join us again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.